So you want to turbo your truck, but everyone says you need a tuner. It's going to be super expensive to do it. And they're wrong. Here to show you why. This truck here, these are a dime a dozen. It's a 5.9 Magnum. These trucks are anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500, and they're not crazy fast or nothing. But you can put a turbo on it, and it'll make the cool sounds, and it'll move faster. So, how I went about it is I left the whole exhaust system stock. All I did was, where the converter is, I put a wastegate on there. Here's the wastegate. Basically just a cap for the exhaust. And the wastegates, they're 20 bucks. You can get I think that's a 50 millimeter. And you just grind the spring down, because you don't want to run more than 5, maybe 8 pounds of boost. Unless you want to blow it up. You can always turn it up later. And after that, all I did was, where the exhaust manifold that goes on the passenger side, because that's where you have the most room at, is I drilled a big hole in it. I think it was 2.5 inch hole, bought a 2.5 inch V-band, and then welded the V-band onto the manifold. And it welded good. They say cast, you can't weld. Well, it's been holding up just fine, and it welded really easy. All I had to do was lift the engine a little bit, take the motor mount out, and weld up bottom side. It took maybe an hour. And I just bought some stainless steel 90-degree mandrel bends and welded a flex pipe on them. So that total, the flex pipe was 10 bucks. The V-bands, I bought a box of 4 of them for 20 bucks. And then I went to a gt3582 turbo, because I wanted to spool low and not be some crazy 800 horsepower or something like everyone always thinks they gotta have. Turbo. It makes all its boost like 1800 RPM. You're full on boost, the wastegate's wide open, and then you're running 5 pounds all the way up. And then here's the build there. No intercooler. Just straight into one of these K&N, intake hats. That was already on the truck, so I don't have to spend anything there. These fittings here, they're like 10 bucks. Here's a $15 air filter, so you can get your cold air, because you want the coldest air you can get when you're running a stock timing. And then here's one of the most important things right here, is your wideband. I wouldn't skimp on the wideband. Get a good one. You can get them about $100, $150. I went with the auto meter. It was on sale. It was only 100 bucks. The turbo, it was $90, so you could average about 100. And the oil lines right here, they run back there to the oil pressure sensor. It came in an oil line kit. It was 20 bucks. And then for the drain tube, I just went straight in the valve cover. And it's not straight down like they say you gotta do. It's basically vertical with the turbo. So from there to there, it's pretty much straight. And it doesn't pool oil, it doesn't do anything crazy. It works just fine. You ain't gotta go down to the oil pan. And all you do is you drill a hole like 3/8, get you an NPT fitting. And then once you drill your hole in the valve cover using a vacuum, actually what I did is I put shop air in the valve cover on the other side. And then as you're drilling, it blows the shavings out. Then you take a center punch and punch the hole in the valve cover so that it kind of mushrooms it down. That way when you thread your NPT fitting on, it has something to grab and thread in. Don't drill the hole too big. You gotta, hammer a punch in to get it to fit. And then you just weld your little bung on. I went out the fender Again, this is for being cheap, a cheap build. And that all works great. Builds boost right away, no problem. And for your fuel system, these trucks are returnless. If you have a return system, it's easier. If you have a returnless, you can still do it. So all I did is I bought a $20 255 fuel pump and variable rate gain fuel management unit. They just call them an FMU. You can get all kinds of different brands, but the higher the ratio, the easier it is when you're using stock injectors, so you can keep your fuel trims good. And then I just bought a nylon fuel line kit because they're good for 200. And here's how it goes. This is from the tank. I teed in. It comes down here to a T. This side goes into the aftermarket fuel pump, the inline pump. And then once it hits the inline pump pressurizes, and it's capable of 150 into the inlet. And this regulator will regulate it to 14-to-1 boost. So 1 pound of boost, you get 14 extra fuel pressure. The bleed off, so your return, comes out the bottom here back into this T. And once it goes in this T, it'll come right back into the pump. And this side is maintaining whatever pressure you set it at. So it's 10 over the factory. So it runs 60 with the key on, engine running at idle. But as soon as you hit boost, it goes up from 60 on 1 pound of boost, from 60 to 74 PSI, and then on up to 5. So you're really running some high fuel pressure. It'll peg this whole gauge under boost. But that's it, that's your fuel trim. You can tune it too. So if you got too much, you turn this here, and you can turn it down to like 8-to-1 or whatever. It's somewhere like that. I just like to leave it high because I can't tune the timing. When you have one of these Magnums, you can't change the timing. So if you run it rich, you're safe. You'll still make way more power than it does without a turbo. So you're still winning. Fuel pump, 20 bucks. The fuel pressure regulator, they're around 100. You can get them sometimes used or on sale or whatever. I mean, I paid 75 for it. So $100 fuel system, $100 turbo, $100 miscellaneous, pipe and fittings and stuff, and $100 for your gauge. So 400 bucks is the most I spent on this whole setup. And then I went with a 2-step because you want it to sound cool. I mean, that's the biggest part of the whole thing. So you just use a tachometer that uses a shift light, and you wire that shift light. This is how you adjust it, but it has 12-volt output for a shift light. And you run that 12-volt output to your coil on a relay that's normally closed, so a 5-pin relay. And when it energizes, it opens the circuit to the coil, so you can cut your power. And that's the setup right there. Just factory coil. I've had to put some new plug wires on it. They were all rusted out, but it works great. And then air fuel gauge too. That's working pretty good. And then I just use a boost gauge from a compression tool. Well, it isn't compression. It's checking your engine manifold vacuum and fuel pump pressure. But if you tee it in, it works fine. They're 10 bucks on Amazon. It's the gauge. There's your fuel trim. Fuel trim's there, RPM. I just use a trunk release button for an old Ford for the 2-step. Here's how the 2-step works. Now it works great. If you want to see the boost. That's pretty good for idle. Or not under load, it's not in gear or anything like that. There it is, all working. It all works great. Nothing to it. Taking it on quite a few drives. We hauled some scrap metal in, taking it out on the street, run a tank of gas through it already. I put premium in it. No detonation, no knocking, no nothing like that. just because I'm running a Ridge. It's an old wore out engine. I mean, it's got 200 and something thousand original miles on the thing. The transmission's already been replaced, but 247,000 miles, so you know the rings are gapped. You wouldn't want to do it on a new, you know, newer engine or a reman or something like that unless it's been wore. And these engines were like 9-to-1 compression, so it handles 5 pounds of boost, no problem. And it moves pretty good. But don't let anyone tell you you can't do it or anything like that. I got a shop to work in, but all you need is a MIG welder, basic skills, and some time. It took me, you know, I spent 2 weeks after work, like 2 or 3 hours a day on it to get it done. But I mean, it worked out great. You can do it. Not that hard. All right, y'all.